You're tuning into the Careering with Cameron podcast, your safe place for asking all the dumb questions about finding a job. Welcome to Careering with Cameron, the show for students who are finishing their degree and are interested in finding their dream job. This is a tough time to try to locate your first position, to be able to separate yourself from other students and other experienced hires as well. I'm Kevin Cameron, and in this series, I'll guide you to a better career. Let's dive in. So there's a few reasons why this is an important topic to me in terms of helping you to find your dream job or helping you to find your first position once you've completed your degree, whether it's graduate or undergrad. The challenges that you face are really around how do you get to that position? How do you identify what that position looks like? What do you want to do? And some of those things come into play to help you kind of focus your search. The next part is really the rule that I say helps everybody, regardless of the level of your career with your search. There's one thing that always helps, and that's people. The challenge is if you're applying to positions online, you are applying as one of many. If you are applying to roles where there are thousands of candidates, hundreds of candidates, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of those candidates are qualified candidates. You're not up against 1,000 people. There could be 60, 70% of that population that's not qualified. How do you get around those people to be seen by a hiring manager or a human resource professional to understand that you're a good fit for this position and you're someone they should talk to? And that really starts with networking. We often hear stories about people who garden in the backyard, maybe on the weekend, and the next day at work on a Monday, their back is killing them, their legs are killing them, their arms are killing them. Job search is very similar to the person who works in the garden on the weekend. It's a muscle group that you don't often use because it's networking. And for many, networking is uncomfortable. You're meeting new people and you're trying to figure out how you can talk to them, how you can work with them, how you can build essentially a network with them, so that both parties are getting something from that conversation. I recommend having a value proposition, also called an elevator, and you can find that certainly on the Talent Connect site as well. There's a nice handout on building one, but using an elevator speech to be able to present yourself in terms of what you're interested in doing, what you're exceptional at, and where you'd like to do that. That helps them to qualify who you are and what you do. And it makes you something memorable because you're specific. If you're general and you're just looking for a job, very hard to remember. Think about general things that you're able to retain as opposed to specific things like a passcode or a social security number. That's not a general number. Those are things that help you to remember. So you want people to feel like they have the tools they need to remember what you're looking for. You also want to make sure that you're networking as often as you possibly can. That doesn't mean that you're at a steak dinner with colleagues from the same industry every Wednesday. What that means is that when there are opportunities to meet with someone, when there are opportunities to attend a speaker you're interested in, or to attend some type of trade conference that you can go to, those are the things we want you to do to meet other people and meet new people. Opportunity is going to come to you at times when you're not expecting it. And what you want to do is plant the seeds when you're in this search mode that those opportunities are coming to you frequently in the future. And if they're not the right fit for you, you're able to share them with somebody else in your network who it might be the right fit for. So there's two things that I tell people you can start at any point in time, but the earlier the better. And so oftentimes I meet with college students or their parents who are talking about how do we network? How do we build that network of people who can help us to find opportunities? How can parents come in and help with a student who is just beginning the process of searching for an opportunity? And certainly parents have common ground that most of them want their children to find meaningful opportunities and to be engaged with their work, right? So typically that's a common denominator that people will help each other. Two things. One, you're never too young to start to network. There are people who stay in the same school system from kindergarten through, graduating from a university in the state that they lived in and having a similar friend network that they've added to hopefully over time. And that's a very strong network that will help them throughout their career. There are also folks who have gone to schools in multiple states. They've moved quite a bit and their network is more broad. The other piece you want to be on top of is A, building network, B, building your retirement type of support. And I know that's not the purpose of this conversation, but it is something important because they both start around the same time typically. When you're finishing school, you should be starting to think about that. You're also starting to think about who do you know that you want to keep in touch with. I always tell students when I'm meeting with them that they are in the prime power networking time of their career because your classes are changing every semester. For the most part, you're probably going to have one or two at least new people in those classes. You want to be able to at least know who they are, or at least know a few new people in those classes so that your network is continuing to expand. You will be surprised the people that you will be able to rely on in the future. Also, don't necessarily stay in the same network. So don't stay in your major only in terms of networking. People who are outside of your major. If you're a chemical engineer, having somebody, believe it or not, who is in maybe agriculture would be a great fit for you. They're going to be competing for different roles. Diversify your network. Make sure that you also have network into high school, into your community. Maybe it's a network connecting you to some of your professors, but making sure that that's a diverse place, right? You have different interests coming to you from different angles. The people side is so important. The people side is how you're going to say, Kevin, I understand that there's somebody at Talent Connect who's looking for someone like me. They have a position that's posted. I would love to talk to them about that position. Or even better, Kevin, I'm quite interested in Talent Connect. I'm not sure if they're hiring anybody right now, but I would love to talk to them to see if they are and learn more about the organization. The second case, you're up against yourself. There is no competition for a role. The first case, you might be up against others, but the fast track for you is somebody introducing you, in this case, Kevin. When you think about what you do and how you conduct your life at this point regarding purchasing things or making big decisions, right? We have this thing called Amazon you've probably heard of. When people use Amazon, typically they have something in mind they need to acquire, they need to buy, but they don't just go in and put in the word and buy whatever pops up. The next thing they do is they look at reviews. Your network is your review. Using people that you know, who know you, who can vouch for you as a human, as a worker, as a student, as a colleague, that is your review. And the more reviews you have, the more stars you have. So having multiple people submitting your profile for a position is how you get to those 5 stars and how that hiring process becomes easy for an organization because they feel like they already know you. And there's very little risk in hiring you. So use your reviews, build that network, make sure you're reaching out to folks who can help you get in front of that decision maker. I like to tell people 1 is not the end. You want 2 to 3 people who can share your information with either multiple people in the organization or that hiring manager. That's what we're looking to do. It should not always be you're connecting to HR. It should also be you're connecting to people who are within the business. You become more known at that point. You're known on different levels, so they assume that your network is very strong. So something else you're probably going to hear when you're in search mode, whether it's starting out from completing a degree or later on in your career when you're applying and either you're in outplacement or you're in a search to find something that aligns a little bit more closely with your career goals, is going to be you have to be ready to deal with AI. AI is going to stop your resume from getting to the right person. AI is a problem. This is something that we're hearing quite a bit of right now. Here's the thing. AI has been around in terms of recruitment for probably all 20 years I was in recruitment in different capacities, whether it was utilizing screening questions upfront to understand where somebody wanted to live. Did they have a degree? What is their compensation requirement? All of those things were essentially part of what is today an AI screen. Here's the other component of that. Yes, it can screen you out. And there are lots of games we can play to try to get around that screening process with AI. But if you're networking into these roles, AI becomes less of an issue. The other piece is if we're networking into these roles, AI can be your tool. And in one of the future episodes, we're going to walk through how do you use AI to be able to really power up your search, to be informed, to have great interview questions, to know what's going on with not only the organization, but also with the person that you're talking to in terms of what they're hiring for, why they're hiring for it. All of the things that you want to be prepared also can help you from AI. So it is not a tool to run from in your job search. It's a tool to use and to know how to use it. And we will cover that in a future episode, but that's something that's really important. Yes, there are going to be screeners in place in terms of your resume, in terms of your LinkedIn profile. They are going to make you one of many. My goal here is to use the most important rule we have, which is people, and being able to connect to those individuals and increasing, as I said, your reviews. The other piece of this is really understanding what is it that you want from your career. And this is something that many individuals really don't have their arms around coming out of college or a graduate program. That is a big challenge for people because we feel as though we're on this track. You're coming from high school to college, to graduate school, and all of these pieces are laid out and they fit nicely together until we're in a work environment where in September, the leaves change, ideally, but we don't have a change of career. And that's a serious struggle for a lot of people, is the reality that, yes, they have their schooling behind them, they have a degree, but nothing is really going to change. And this is where they're going to be. And so September can be a very difficult time for folks who are new to the career or job world. How do we figure that out? Pay attention to the positions that you work in as a co-op or an intern. Pay attention to how you feel when you're in those roles. My background actually is something where I began as an accountant and I just decided I was going to get through it. It wasn't anything that I truly enjoyed. I just wanted to get through it. And it wasn't until I was out of school in a work capacity that I realized it wasn't something I could necessarily, quote unquote, get through and just kind of grind out. And so I had to look back at my college career and understand where were the classes that I really enjoyed. What did they look like? Can I be honest with myself about what I enjoyed? And can I take away some of the dispositions that I've attached to those things that I decided I didn't enjoy, that I might have actually found some value in and been engaged with? For me, my goal was to never be in a sales environment, which is actually really funny based on the last 20 some odd years of being in a sales environment. That was a decision that I had formed, and it was a decision that I had made, and something that I decided that was the direction I wasn't going to go, and I would go any other direction, when in actuality, I probably should have gone that direction earlier. My point is, listen to how you're feeling when you're in class. Listen to how you're feeling when you're at your co-op or your internship, when you're getting started in your career. There will be opportunities for you to explore. Take all the opportunities that you can. Show you're interested, show you want to be part of the team, and be someone that they could rely on. Your coworkers, your supervisors can rely on as someone who will always say yes and put their hand up. You will move very quickly in an organization doing that, provided there are things that you have interest in, because if you're just accepting roles that are not exciting, that you don't enjoy, you're probably not going to be all that engaged. So making sure that those two pieces fit together, that's another key piece of your strategy. So now you've got the strategy that you're starting to shape early in your career. You're building a network of people who can power up your search. Those are two very big pillars in terms of making sure that you have employment or you're able to reach the employment that you want. The last piece really is getting out of yourself and being able to make sure that you are connecting with folks and talking to them about what you're looking for. And that doesn't mean only applying to positions. That means finding organizations that you have interest in. A CEO of an organization will take the time to talk to you if you approach them about an opportunity because you love what she's doing by leading the organization. That's something that separates you. That's something that gives you an audience, and that person is never going to forget that you reached out to say you were interested and why, and then can reach back to you to say, hey, there's this opportunity. I thought of you. Those are the things you want to keep kind of percolating in the background. Let's talk a little bit about what's different in the job search environment now. We have a lot more people applying to positions. The application process is much easier, believe it or not, than it ever has been in the past. And what I mean by that is you can apply to a position on your phone at lunch. You can auto apply. You can use tools that will apply for you. And you can also see quite a few more positions that are open than you ever could before. And I'm talking about years and years ago when I got started, we were circling ads in a newspaper. There was not an internet version of job postings. So the speed at which you can apply is much faster. The downside to that is that the competition you're applying against is much larger. And in a lot of ways, that competition may or may not be qualified for the roles you're applying to. They may just be applying because they see a job that they are curious about, and curiosity does not mean qualified. That's the first piece. Second piece of this is understanding how to separate yourself. And we talked a little bit about that with networking and having people to reach out to and using your reviews and your stars, if you will, from Amazon. The third piece is using AI to help you find the information you need to separate yourself from the pack, to separate yourself from other applicants who maybe are just going in with curiosity. They're not preparing to submit their application or their resume. So that's another critical piece. The third piece of this is, how do you have these people to reach out to? And that is by understanding that networking is not something that happens only when you need a job. And that's something that a lot of us forget. Networking needs to happen all the time. And that means that people are going to come to you and need your help. And your help probably only takes 10 or 15 minutes. But that 10 or 15 minutes can make a huge difference when the shoe is on the other foot and you're looking for some assistance finding a good connection inside an organization. So keep that in mind. Networking is not just for when you're looking for an opportunity. There are a lot of exceptional values that can come from having a strong network. And that, again, does not mean you have to be physically in a place. It can be as simple as being able to answer questions to colleagues or be open to connecting. The last piece of this is, how do you maintain that circle? That is, something that can be effectively done through all of those various social media channels that we have, posting ideas, sharing thoughts, but also having an opportunity to say maybe once every couple months, you reach out, say hello, check on your people, and make sure that they're okay. It sounds like a lot of work. If you spend a Friday for an hour once a week, you could easily master this and have it not be something that is quite so daunting. So those are the pieces that we want to keep in mind when we're talking about networking and how to make sure that we are staying relevant in our networks. So going forward, some of the topics we will be covering in Careering with Cameron will be not only obviously today's, which is the networking piece and the most important piece of your job search, but also some critical tools to help you. How do you create a resume? How do you create a cover letter? How do you identify organizations that you'd like to work for? How do you clarify your strategy? How do you clarify what you want to do next? And also at some point down the road, how do you pivot? If you want to change positions, you want to change the direction of your career, how do you do that? There's a lot of different pieces that go into the effective career management system and job search. This is, again, similar to networking. It is not I'll focus on this while I'm looking for an opportunity and then I won't focus on it again. This is something that throughout your career, you will have different opportunities that present themselves to you. It will be your decision whether you accept them or pass them to colleagues. But the bottom line is to be prepared. And so that's what we're working on doing for you through the Careering with Cameron podcast, is having you be prepared for each one of those steps. Stay in the loop at careeringwithcameron.com/talent connect, or check out our website, www.talent-connect.net.